righty. Welcome and hello, everybody. We have an action-packed, super fun and exciting webinar today. As per usual, if you have joined our webinars in the past, you know that I'm going to ask you to put into the chat, where are you coming to us from? Where are you located? And I think that should be available to everyone. There we go. Phil kicks us off in Lance, Michigan. Thank you, Phil. And Stephen in Texas, and Casey in Ripley, and Michigan, and Richmond, Frederick, Colorado, more in Lance, Michigan, California, Sydney. Sydney, is that Sydney? Sydney is in Australia, Sydney? Leander, Texas, Santa Ana, Rodney in Mississippi. Hello, Rodney. Yes, Australia. Fantastic. Well, thank you for staying up, I think late, maybe not late. Is it early, late? I can't remember right now, but awesome to have you come joining us from there. 5 a.m. All right. Thanks for getting up early. Very good. Well, thank you again all for joining us. I know we have a good mix of both clients and future clients alike, if I could be so bold. And really looking forward to this hour. I want to give a huge thanks to our guests, who we'll introduce in just a minute here. And I'm excited by this whole topic of really flipping auditing and what it takes to get AS9100 certified and the stress level it should not need. So we're going to have a fun time here. If you have questions, we will definitely have enough time for Q&A at the end. Please put their questions into the Q&A portion rather than the chat. They kind of get lost in the chat. And if you want to cheer at any time during this, please cheer into the chat, because I know Kelly and our guests are going to share some pretty awesome things. So with that, let's go ahead and get going. Kelly, it's Luke from Ann Arbor. Hey, Luke. All right. I always like to start these with our mission statement, because this is so important to us. We deliver powerful manufacturing software by deeply understanding our clients' challenges in order to meaningfully improve their businesses and in turn their communities. And hopefully we're going to demonstrate today that we actually have had some meaningful improvement with these businesses that are joining us. And if that in turn impacts their communities because they can hire more and grow their businesses, that's even better yet. So this is the agenda for today. We're going to be talking about preparing for audits, the actual day of the audit. And day, we're talking about day, not days typically, the culture of auditing and audits, and then some practical tips, some more insights from our clients, and then more in general, kind of using ProShop in your business in a QMS concentric way. Love to start off by introducing Chris from Mavericks Manufacturing Partners. Chris, you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your business?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Peter. My name is Chris Blanch. I'm the co-founder and president and CEO of Mavericks Manufacturing Partners, and we're in Greater San Diego, California. Our core expertise is really in welding, but we offer services in all metal fab through our partner network and so on. But our real strength is in welding. And so when we were looking for an ERP system that would help us really optimize our processes, ProShop was really the one of all of the ones that we evaluated and down selected to that really kind of checked the majority of the boxes, even though it was specifically built for CNC machine shops. But one of the things that I really appreciate and want to highlight about ProShop is the architecture is very flexible, and the team support has been outstanding in terms of helping us meet our very specific needs of the welding codes and our customer requirements and obligations in terms of meeting the really high requirement welding applications that we're really targeting. We've even seen some of our biggest customers have been other machine shops where they're just trying to outsource the welding component. And so we actually, when we show them our ERP system, they recognize how optimized it is and how amazing it is. And when we had our audit, our auditor kind of had the same experience in terms of he was familiar with ProShop, and our audit just sailed through very, very easily. So No anxiety with the audits. We hit our AS9100 certification within 2 months. That was the pre-assessment, the stage 1 and the stage 2. And yeah, so we're very
Awesome.
pleased with it and happy to see everybody.
Thank you, Chris. We will dig more into the nuance of that and the timeline, which is super impressive. And thank you very much for being here. And Adam, let's get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, Paul, thanks for having me on. This will be my first podcast, so bear with me.
Thank you for joining us. This is awesome.
Yeah, we're a smaller machine shop in Central Texas, just north of Austin, Texas. We are a machine shop. We do a lot of outsourcing to welding, outside processes, things like that. I did purchase a small shop 2 years ago, and before that even happened, I purchased Pro Shop to get training on that and get everything lined up before I go into business. So it's been great ever since, and I have not lost an hour of sleep with AS being certified. So it's been easy, thanks to Kelly and my great team at the shop. So
awesome. And besides your contract manufacturing work, you also sell whiskey and cigar accessories.
Yeah, that's so I was working full-time job, and I bought a manual lathe and mill, put it in my garage, and I didn't really know what to make, so I started making ashtrays and cigar stands, and that went pretty well until I purchased a shop, and now I hardly have time for it. But that's a good problem to have, I think.
Yeah, awesome. Yep. Very cool. All right, well, let's dig in here. And we're going to talk about preparing for audit success. And Kelly, I'm going to let you kind of take over here. And I should, I guess, let you introduce yourself. So Kelly is an essential part of our team here at Pro Shop. And Kelly, why don't you share a little bit about yourself? I remiss that we didn't make a slide just for you, but let's learn about you a little bit first.
That's all right. I'm Kelly. I am from Michigan. I born and raised, so I was able to really get to know the adverse world of manufacturing. And looking at the automotive, the ups and downs, I decided to specialize in aerospace because I knew that there was going to be a generation that was going to need to retire, and who else to pick it up but my generation. So I started in the industry of the military and defense, making military vehicles for AMG and some other clients, and then moved over to the aerospace world and started working for a company that was a tier 1 supplier to the higher ups of manufacturing, including the military. So I moved up from the ranks of a various floor inspector to a quality manager, and learned a lot from the experiences I had, and then moved into the commercial field. So I am a very diverse in, the AS world, the ISO 9000 world, and some other things. So
awesome.
I'm glad to help.
Yes, glad to have you here. Okay, let's talk about audits, and I guess maybe what they're normally like and how we're kind of changing that.
Typically, when you guys are ready to get certified, there is a process for that. And their stage 1 audit is usually over the documentation. You have a manual, procedures, people that have been trained to procedures, is the words and verbiage that you want to set forth on what your company does, where it's at, and those fundamentals of setting up your business. Usually there's an internal audit and there's a management review, which are very critical key features of every audit when the auditor comes to your facility. And then once you're done with stage 1, they'll go over some opportunities that they'll might find. It's very rare, since everything is prepped for you before stage 1. Your stage 2 is basically your work orders, your vendor POs, anything that your calibration. And then again, if you have any non-conformances or any opportunities of improvements, that's when you clean it up and then, submit to the auditor, and you'll get your stage 2 done in a certification.
So let's talk for a second about the more traditional process where someone maybe isn't as prepared. I guess, let's put pro shop aside for a minute. That's normally more of an education process as well, and the clients or the shop trying to understand what they need to be ready for in stage 2. Is that kind of more how that generally goes?
The typical process is usually before stage 1, you have some kind of analysis to make sure that your system and what the standard is requiring are complete and met. So once you have that kind of gap, cleaned up and ready for your stage 1, the auditor will come in and ask you some questions and go through your system. But typically, it's always been 30 to 90 days between your stage 1 and stage 2 to compile evidence and data. So that by the time you're stage 2, your management review, your internal audits are finished. So it's not typical that you would have a management review or those audits just yet, because you're starting your whole system. So it's kind of like, we're going to find the gaps stage 1. If there's any opportunities, we'll give you 30 to 90 days to clean them up. And then your stage 2 will go through the rest of the process. After that, we'll clean them up. Usually it's about 30 days or so after that. So it, takes 6 months for some to get certified from the beginning to the end. And
and I've heard the terms opportunities and majors and minors. Can you just describe those a little bit?
In the first stage 1, opportunities are just things that need to be fixed. Nothing that's going to be critical. Stage 2 is where you get your majors and minors, things that are your corrective actions that you have to fix in order to get your certification. So it's kind of some cleanup work. And then stage 2 is like, did you guys do your homework? And let's see that you did your homework. And if you didn't, we're gonna, have some consequences.
And can people, if there are minors or majors on a stage 2, can people fix those and then submit proof that they've done it and then get their certification after that?
Yes, they communicate with their auditor. They show them evidence that they have done the improvements from those corrective actions. And then once those are submitted, there is a review process after the auditor has their reports, has all the nonconformances finished. Then there is a review board that says, okay, we're going to look at the company. We're going to make sure they're solid. And yes, we're going to, certify this company to get their AS.
Got it.
And that usually takes about a week or 2 afterwards.
Sure. Got it. Okay. And so that in this last bullet point we have here, this was an example, but there's really, if there's no findings in the stage 1, and all the objective evidence is ready to go, there's no reason why you couldn't do a stage 2 really quickly. Is that true?
That is true. Typically, a lot of auditors are pushing the fact that they want to see all this evidence. But again, setting up ProShop the way it is, you've crunched that number from stage 1 to stage 2 because you're so well prepared. Everything is in the system and it does it for you.
Okay, well, let's get more into that. So let's talk about, I guess I should have read through these slides a little bit better. Let's talk about what are normal things between stage 1 and 2s.
They're really just basically getting your KPIs ready. So when the auditor comes in, they have a sheet called a process effectiveness, like a PEAR, process effectiveness assessment form. And they have all this information that they need to collect and fill out. And when they fill this out, they'll put in opportunities of things that you kind of need to fix. But the KPIs are what they're really looking forward on your stage 2 to make sure that you're looking at your sales, looking at your nonconformances if you have any. So it's the documented evidence that they're really compiling in that time frame.
Sure. Okay. And tell me about this bullet here. Auditors can interpret things differently.
Yes. So in the AS world, they are really forcing the fact of counterfeit, product safety, human factors, and the general QMS. And auditors will push and push and push the fact that they need a procedure for that. Well, interpretation really states that you just need some kind of awareness and monitoring of it. It actually does not dictate this and does not say you need documented, retained information. So with that, ProShop has done it with trainings. So there are alternatives of things that you can do that aren't requirements that some think that you must have.
Okay. So you could build some training processes around counterfeit parts and make sure people are trained in that, signed off on their training. And then that's sufficient for, at least to some auditors, that would be sufficient, but others might push back on that a little bit. Is that what you're saying?
ProShop also has a great way of doing your supplier evaluation and making sure that counterfeit doesn't come in from the receiving inspection. So, you know, you still do have a process built throughout ProShop to support that counterfeit. But again, you don't need a documented procedure that says, this is how we do counterfeit. Some auditors like to see certain things because that's what they're used to. And coming into the new age, there's different types of medias.
Got it. Okay, very good. Let's talk about audit day itself. So how does an audit day go?
Well, usually in the past, there's been where you're collecting all these papers and you're getting ready and you've run around the shop and you've got people to sign off and you sit in front of the auditor and you have your manual, which is usually a binder. And then you have a binder of procedures and you go through this process and you're looking at all this documentation. Now it's basically everything is kind of on your company hub and you're clicking through the modules to find that information. And having that all set up to where you have all the answers and questions right there in one source is basically the ease.
Okay. So by eliminating both paper documents and having things stored in, you know, Word documents or PDF files or Excel sheets sort of on your network, it makes it easier and faster to get the answers to the auditors that they are asking for, or heaven forbid, you know, a bunch of filing cabinets. And we're talking both about the sort of procedures and manual and things of that nature, and then also the records themselves, because they're going to ask about records, right?
Correct. And when the auditor comes in, again, he'll have this form that he's got to fill out. What processes, who's in charge, what are you measuring for your KPIs, and all this documented information, objectives. And you just kind of go through that checklist. So once he has that all set in one area, he knows exactly what answers are right there. There's not too much of clicking back and forth or opening a binder.
Okay. So the auditor will send you the questions in advance that they will be asking?
Typically, what happens is your registered body will reach out to you and say, hey, on a recertification, usually it's within 30 days or if not longer, depending on the schedule, or you will get an audit schedule from any auditor, no matter what audit you're doing, and it will go over the things that they are going to want to see, procedures, documents, and they're based on the sections of the standard, depends on, you know, what criteria. And they're just going to start going through the process of like looking at your purchasing and your QP, and then going through the documentation to support that. And then, you know, the evidence of the outputs of that.
Okay. Okay. And then so a first time audit is going to be different than a recertification audit, right?
That's correct.
Can you elaborate on the difference between the two?
A recertification is something after your stage 2, you've got your certificate. Yay, it's been a year. The auditor is going to come back and they're going to go over certain sections of the standard. They're not going to audit your whole system. But the things that they are going to always look for is your management review and your internal audits. From there, they'll pick and choose certain criterias, production, operations, depending on the section of the standard. Then they'll break it down to the things that they're going to want to look at. The next following for the recertification, the next following year, they offset that with the other part of the standards and they audit that. After that is their third year and they do another full system audit. Stage one is where they're looking at your information and they're going to start going through your documentation, clean it up. Stage two, they're going to go through your whole system, make sure everything's clean, ready, and then give you your certification.
Okay. And I want to drive home this bottom bullet point here, that this concept of a zero prep audit, and we wrote a blog about that, I don't know, last year, I believe. And the hope and the goal of always being audit ready is not only so your audits, you know, you don't stress and scramble for days or weeks in advance to prep for it, but is it safe to say that a company that is always audit ready because they are actually doing the processes, doing the improvements, doing whatever it might be, keeping the records, they should be a more smoothly operating, you know, more well-run company because they're doing this work? And this comes back to the concept of, oh, thank you, Aubrey, for putting that in the chat. This comes to the concept of, you know, people get certifications generally because they want to get, they want to do work for the aerospace industry or the space industry, and that's a requirement. But there's also the concept that a company that runs itself per the standard is going to be a more profitable, better run, more reliable company in general. And that's the real reason to get a certification, is so you have a more consistent, you know, standardized, profitable process. And if you're then doing that and focusing on that as the goal, yeah, you can then, you know, get your foot in the door in aerospace and defense and that sort of thing. But if you're always behind and you're not up on your NCRs and your corrective actions and your internal audits, then you're likely to not actually be keeping up on the processes, which are the things you want to run your business more profitably and consistently in general. Do you think about that the same way, Kelly?
I do. And the standard is really the business practice. You know, everyone talks about quality and it's quality's job. Well, the philosophy of quality is, you know, we all take it on, we have certain standards for ourselves. We have a certain quality of a level that we have for ourselves. So it's not necessarily a quality of manufacturing, it's the quality of your business. And, you know, the standard sets forth criteria that says, okay, we want you to be better. We want you to have trained employees. We want you to have a culture and habits so that you can be a really good supplier. So we can be, you know, dependent on you in certain times and give you extra work.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. All right. I love it. Let's get into the culture of audits and auditing here. And this, and Chris and Adam would love to have you kind of join the conversation here. Because historically, this has been a situation where, you know, the shop is kind of feeling at the mercy of the auditor, and it's super stressful, and they're not sure if they're going to pass, or they're just, yeah, it's a different kind of thing than we're hoping to kind of help build going forward. So I'd love to have you guys, yeah, share a little bit about this concept and what it was like for you. You want to start us off, Chris?
Yeah, thanks. Actually, I want to just kind of comment on Kelly's segment earlier, where there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat of getting AS9100 certified, and a lot of companies will do it with paper and forms, and then that builds kind of a culture of like, oh, this is non-value add, we have to do all this extra work. Whereas, you know, it doesn't have to be that way. And that's one of the great things about going digital is everything's already automatic. It's part of your process. Instead of filling out a form and filing that form or getting that form signed, you're just clicking a button on a screen, or it's automatically collecting all the objective quality evidence that you need to pass an audit. So I think going digital really enables that audit ready, position for businesses to be in, which I just think is fantastic. We're building our business around that. In terms of having the culture of audits, I really view it as having being very similar to having a culture of safety, right? You can't have just like the safety manager, the EH&S manager responsible for all safety and making sure people don't get hurt, protect the company from workman's comp claims and all that stuff. It's like it goes down to the worker who's performing the task in either a safe way or an unsafe way. And so you can't really just write scripts and procedures and protocols to embed that. People just have to believe that they need to work safely. Well, the same thing is with quality. And to Kelly's point, that's everybody's responsibility. And so when it comes down to the auditing, if you can make that easier and less, take the temperature down on the anxiety levels for the whole organization when the audit's coming around, it just positions you for success even better. So by having everything digital and running everything through one central platform, and the entire business is operating that way, when employees are clicking into a router and out of a router, confirming an operation, and so on, it just means there's less gaps that people have to worry about in terms of, oh, I didn't sign this form, I didn't fill out this form correctly, or whatever it may be. And so I think that actually helps all of the employees be more on their game, because they don't have to stress as much, because they have confidence that all of the objective evidence is there to support that they're doing their jobs correctly per the process.
Yeah.
And I think that opens up bandwidth for them to answer questions more thoroughly, be more effective in giving the auditor what they are seeking as evidence for the audit, instead of them stressing about stuff they don't need to stress about. So I think ProShop is really, as a product and a solution, has made, the do what you say and do what you, or say what you do and do what you say, almost automatic in most ways, maybe 90%. So I think that's really, a key advantage and differentiator between this product and other products we looked at and that I have experience with.
Yeah, I was just saying, I would love to know a little bit of your background of prior companies. What, were they, did you work? It sounded like you probably worked in other companies that were AS certified, and you've done it a different way in the past. Is that true? Yeah,
so I've been in manufacturing for 25 years, and my partner has about 20 years of experience in these types of regulated industries. We've been in aerospace, defense, semiconductor, and turbo machinery, a lot of turbo machinery. So these are industrial gas turbines doing power gen, or in the oil and gas industry. And I've worked for probably 4 different companies that all have this requirement. I was a quality manager at 2 of them, responsible for the QMS. And it's always just this legacy system that's been in place for like 10 years or 15 years. And it's just built into this behemoth of something to manage. And it's just been a pain, and making sure people are adhering to it was another challenge. But we always passed our audits. It was just a lot of work. And going into our certification here with my company, Mavericks, we sailed through. It was just a night and day difference in experience.
Wow. Okay. If you had to put I don't know, a number to the percentage of time saved or effort expended to get that certification in the old systems versus the new, or even to maintain it, maybe, I don't know, whatever makes sense to you. Can you have anything that comes to mind Was it half as easy? Is it, half the time or effort or something different than that?
Well, I mean, going with the flying start package definitely helped because I was actually in the process of writing all the procedures before finding ProShop, and I was putting a lot of effort into that. So I know how much effort goes into writing the manual per the standard. And if you don't use a consultant, it's even harder because a consultant will actually guide you and say, hey, try and write it per the sections of the standard. If you don't have that insight, then you're just spinning your wheels in a lot of different ways. And then you have to write procedures, and then you have to have forms to collect all that evidence. It's a pretty extensive effort. So to answer your question from a very kind of qualitative perspective, I would say probably it was, yeah, like 90% easier using the ProShop Flying Start solution.
That's not what I was expecting, but I love hearing it. Thank you very much. Adam, I'd love to have you here, hear some of your thoughts about
Yeah,
this.
absolutely. I'm coming from the other end of things. I've only have 15 years experience. That's half my life in manufacturing. But I've always been on the employee side of an AS or ISO shop. So I'd be the one signing off a line of training that I have no idea what it is last minute. I'd see all these documents being made and remade and re-revved. But yeah, I never really knew the process going into becoming AS or ISO. So going into this, I had zero clue really, and I really didn't need AS, but I wanted to run my business like y'all were talking about, with processes and smoothly. But with the help of Kelly and the Flying Start package, it was literally a silver platter handed to me.
Yeah, you shared, you were kind enough to share this on LinkedIn. Yeah, people don't generally say that their audit's the easiest day at work.
No, it was. I mean, luckily with Kelly and my office manager has no manufacturing or quality experience, and she's basically running the place with Kelly. So
she's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So as a business owner, I kind of just said yes to it, and it kind of did itself. So I wouldn't want to go AS if I had to do it all myself. Absolutely not. So
sure. So I want to
very easy.
I want to go back on something you said. As an employee at a previous company or companies, you would be asked to sign things and sign off on things at the very last minute when they were scrambling to prepare for audits.
Yeah, for sure. So every year, it's sign this training, make sure all their documents are ordered. The office was usually a mess. I couldn't, get them to order tools or get anything out of them. And even as an owner talking to other shops, they're like, no, it's audit month. We're going to be slow to emails, and we can't. Yeah. Audit month. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, I hope that's sinking in on this, the significance of what we call the zero prep audit, where you can just have them come anytime, no problem, we're ready. And I really do genuinely believe a company that's run that way will be a higher performing company, because they're not missing things and not having their business run according to the standard, which should be more consistent and profitable and repeatable. Let's talk a little bit about timelines. So Adam and Kelly, can you guys share a little bit about your timelines here?
Adam?
Yeah, absolutely. I went into this thinking it would be a 6-month process. So with the Flying Start package, you get how many hours of training, Kelly? A lot?
You can get 60 hours, or you can get smaller chunks depending on the type of business, but there are consulting hours that you can purchase for helping you get certified. And Adam actually purchased 60 hours because I was still new a little bit. So we're kind of working on this together and seeing how this is going to be, but
But no, it was well worth it. But yeah, I thought it would be a 6-month process. I think me and Kelly, we spent an hour a week together. And there's a lot of work in the background on top of that. But no, we could have sped this up so much quicker. And then by the time we got comfortable enough we were late to schedule someone to audit us. So that pushed it out another month. And then stage 2 is going to be December 11th. So really started working with the auditor's timeline after the initial setup and training.
So if you kind of knew what you knew now and had got on the audit schedule as soon as possible, what time frame do you think you actually would have been on?
If we were more consistent with it, it could have been easily a month initial setup, and then as soon as they could audit us the second time. So probably a month or two, easy.
Right. Okay. Very good.
I probably would have done it a lot sooner also.
Sure.
I known it was that easy. But yeah, it is the fear of the unknown, like Kelly says. And really know what you're
that's super common. I mean, I definitely have talked to shop owners and leaders who are just genuinely afraid of like what trying to do AS, and like because they hear horror stories from all across the industry about how hard it is and how much time it takes, and you won't have time to do anything else, and then it adds a whole level of cost on top of your business just to maintain it.
I hear that a lot from other shops. They don't want to mess with the paperwork or the expense or the time, but well, there's no paper, first of all, and the time's cut down quite a bit. So
almost 90% according to Chris. So all right. And Chris, let's talk about your time frame. This is pretty remarkable. Yeah. And you had this in mind. So if you, as part of your answer, you had said you were starting to write all your own manuals and things, and then you found ProShop, and kind of maybe you can kind of go from there.
Okay. Yeah. So we, this was part of our business plan. I was a manager of the welding program at a defense prime here in the States. And I decided I wanted to go start my own company, and I was going to do it in a very specific way. Part of that roadmap was we have to get AS9100 certified as fast as possible. So I was actually starting to write this while I was still part-time. And so around the May, June timeframe, I was doing this. And then I actually got a quote from one of my vendors for a job, and at the bottom it said ProShop, and they were using ProShop. And I'm like, oh, I've never heard of this. I looked it up, and we had already been evaluating like 6 other solutions ranging from Sage and E2 and a bunch of others. And we down selected to ProShop based on our research and just looking at kind of what our requirements were for our business and what we needed the ERP MES system to do for us. We weren't even thinking about a QMS being rolled into that. We were going to be going with another third-party QMS system because that's all I was aware of at the time. But through the research, we signed in July, and from there we immediately hit the ground running. In fact, I was poking the ProShop sales team like, "Hey, when can we get this started?" They're like 2 weeks. I'm like, "No, I want it faster." So when we eventually got signed up and began our kind of training / configuration of the system for our business, I had already called my registrar, had them lined up, and we had some back and forth with them. The registrar was actually the one pushing back on us, saying, typically we require our clients to have 3 months of work experience and work orders on the floor. So they were really pushing back on me and scheduling the audit.
Yeah.
But, registrars are businesses. They want to make money. So I said, look, I'm paying you, come on out. And if we fail, I'll pay you again to come out again. So, and so they agreed, and they came out, and here we are by the end of October certified. So it was a very accelerated timeline for us, and very smooth, I have to say. But
you signed up for ProShop before you even officially opened your doors for business. Is that what I'm seeing here?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, we opened in August.
Yeah.
Yeah, me as well. Wanted to get on board quick.
I love it. Yeah, and to both your points, these timelines could have been even shorter if the auditors weren't as busy, and it took a while to just get on their calendar and get on their schedule. So,
Yep.
I have been not running this webinar quite quick enough. We're a little behind schedule, so let's jump up here. Kelly, I'd love to have you maybe lead us off here and talk about some tips.
So auditors, again, assume that they have or need to see certain things, and that's not necessarily true. And getting them to see the paperless system, you know, comparing what they've seen in the past to what ProShop, you know, satisfies that, they have seen to be like, okay, wait, I need to really have it this way. And that's not necessarily true. Again, like Chris said, there's multiple ways to skin a cat. And so, you know, moving that culture of it's only my way or the only way, that's not necessarily true. Contacting certification bodies. So yeah, it would be nice if once ProShops gets out there and more certification bodies get used to it and see it, and the auditors start to see it, get more comfortable with it. You know, once they say, hey, we have ProShop, that should, you know, automatically say, oh, I can have stage 1 on Monday, I can do stage 2 on Thursday, and we'll mail you your certification by Monday, the following. So,
Sure.
you know, it's supposed to help, and we're supposed to strengthen the industry, and having ProShop makes you a better supplier because you are looking at these things as a habit. You're already doing it and you don't even know it.
Yeah, and I love, Chris, your analogy of safety. I think that's a great analogy of exactly how it needs to be embedded down to the daily operations of people doing their job in a safe way, in a quality-driven way. And getting the auditors to understand that's how it is probably is one of the, I guess, major sort of education points of that's just pervasive in the business, is how we run it. We don't need to, because they probably know that people scramble at the last minute and sign things off, and, you know, because they probably come into companies that aren't all ready, and or they haven't seen. One thing I've heard, and maybe one of you could confirm this, when an auditor comes in and all your documents are still at the same rev as they were a year ago, probably an indication you're not actually using the system to improve. Is that a dynamic that happens?
It certainly begs the question, and auditors start poking a little bit deeper into that. They may find that, yeah, okay, you guys just, you've had one customer and they haven't changed and you haven't changed, but they do dig, and they're going to determine that, or you know, have non-conformances to report.
Right. Awesome. All right, let's keep on moving here with a few more tips. Kelly, do you want to take these ones?
Well, I would like to point out that the new standard for AS will be out in the next couple of years, probably by 2025. And in that portion of it, they're going to start looking at environmental, carbon footprints, how things are going to happen. And having ProShop already starts that paperless system of your carbon footprint on the next rev. So that is something to really consider. And then, you know, being able to, if you have someone that needs a training, you have all the options to where they can do some of the training on their own. You know, the technology of, again, setting up your system, your audits are already internal, your management review is already going in the habits, you know, you're starting to do these things without even knowing. And then before you know it, you got it. It's all set up. You're ready. And you're like, yes, I got this. I'm proud of my company. You know, we're running at, you know, top notch, 95% on time for deliveries. Our sales are through the roof. I mean, things are moving seamlessly. So it's all about how you set it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, we have, and I don't know, love to hear Chris and Adam, you know, we definitely have clients tell us that ProShop has become a significant part of their sales process, where when they have the opportunity to present to a new prospect, you know, they really lean into, this is our business process. This is how we run our company in a really efficient way, in a very, you know, robust KPI driven way. Have you guys done that at all with your clients?
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh,
Every
good.
time,
Go ahead, Adam.
Thanks, Chris. Every time we have a customer go through the shop, we'll point out immediately how there's no papers except for travelers and packing slips. But
Right.
we'll have computers with every workspace, and we're usually more organized than our customer coming in. So we'll tell them what orders they have with us, when they're due, you know,
Sure.
previous pricing, things like that.
Gotta love it. And you too,
Yeah,
Chris?
I would just echo exactly what Adam said. It is it's a key part of our branding, and that is we work smarter, not harder. And we're the next generation of weld shop, you know, manufacturing shop. We're not the old crusty Bob the Welder, you know, dirt floors and everything's smoky and dirty. We're very high end, very premium, and a part of that is our business systems. And so I've had the same experience that Adam's had in terms of customers coming in and they're just blown away because we're leaps and bounds ahead of where they're at. And so I think they want to partner with companies like us who have gone fully digital, have embraced, you know, the industry 4.0 as it's called, you know, going digital and connecting everything and having a digital thread throughout the manufacturing process. ProShop really is a key enabler in doing that. And in terms of AS9100, from the contract back through your entire process and what you're delivering, and having that closed loop of traceability with all of your OQE, the objective quality evidence, really, you know, makes it pretty automatic. It's kind of hard to make some errors, I think, unless you're, you know, just uploading the wrong documents and so on. But it does a great job tying together that digital thread.
All righty, cool. Well, we've already kind of talked about this already a bit, but any additional insights you guys want to share about what it's been like working with Kelly and our team and ProShop in general?
Yeah, ProShop in general has just been stress-free and pretty easy. You know, I've worked in other shops, and this was an easy yes for ProShop as far as ERP systems go. I'm not even realizing at the time what it could grow into as far as AS and all the quality system and trainings. I knew I wanted to run the company like that, but didn't realize how easy it could be, and, you know, affordable, and, you know, great support. You guys act like a small company, but it's very quick with the emails, and yeah, it's been very good.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it.
For us, there was some uncertainty, I would say, but still confident that it was the right solution. But ProShop's really, and once we started configuring it and integrating it, it was very, very evident how machine shop centric and focused it is. And we're not that. We don't have a CNC mill or lathes or any CNC tools at all in our facility. So to customize it to meet our specific needs for the welding application in compliance with all the codes and requirements, I can't say enough good things about the support the teams had. You know, I opened up with this earlier too, the architecture of ProShop being able to create a welder continuity log, being able to generate our welding procedure specifications as internal documents and embedding them into the router operations. The welder continuity log is a big one because usually companies will manage that outside of any system, or they'll go buy a third-party solution that is very expensive and not that great at best. So the customization, the flexibility, the support that we experienced has been phenomenal. And I've had welding engineers from defense primes come through and I'm showing them our process. Like, this is how the welder gets their welding procedure. This is how I know that the welder is current with their qualification and their process. And they're just blown away. They're like, your ERP system does all this for you? And I'm like, yeah, it does.
That's awesome.
And yeah, it's just really a great tool to have.
And
the
I believe
experience has been fantastic.
you said in the prep for this that you are also getting your NADCAP by the end of the year. So
Yeah, we're scheduling NADCAP, and then also PRI has a kind of companion accreditation to the NADCAP, which is a Metacred certification for welding processes. So we're applying for that at the same time. So I have both of the checklists now. I just have to go through and make sure we're plugging all the gaps, but we're gonna get that for sure. I've had NADCAP previously at other companies that I've managed, and we're quite familiar with the requirements and what's expected. So I'm confident. It's just a matter of scheduling them, paying them, and they come out and see us.
We do have one, maybe two other shops, weld shops that use ProShop that are NADCAP. So I don't know, maybe you guys should get together and compare notes. So awesome. Well, thanks guys. I appreciate that. And just a few things, just in general about, about working with ProShop, our machine shop, and it was, well, I would say, so the company that Kelsey and I and my partners started was definitely machining centric. We also were an engineering firm, so we were AS certified for design engineering as well, and did lots of assemblies and things like that, but still very much machining centric. But of course, we were AS certified for more than 10 years before we ended up selling the business. And so just all the workflows kind of to the point that some of you have made, if you just use ProShop the way it was designed, the way it was intended, the way we think about running a business, you kind of will be largely compliant to the standards. So, and we certainly do think it's a much easier way to go than keeping it outside the system. And it sounds like our marketing and sales team needs to do a little better job. If you guys didn't know how much we actually could do, we need to make sure we're making that clear up front. And then Kelly, if you just very quickly tell us about the internal audit services that we're offering.
So being a lead auditor certified and a certified quality tech, we do offer the services of auditing. So a lot of our clients that I have helped certify are 1 to 2 man shops. And, large companies that do AS don't think that a 1-person shop can be certified. But that's not true. It only takes 1 person. And so with those being so small and limited resources, ProShop has, someone on board that can help support you in those quality, divisions of auditing, getting you prepared for your recertification, coming in and helping consulting. How can I do some things better? What are some tips that, I could try? And so the services, again, reach out to your sales or put in a CS ticket. And, if you need an auditor, again, 30 days before your system recertification, say, hey, they reach out and say, I need a, audit of my whole internal audit system. Great, I can do that. And then send in a PO.
And again, we're talking about internal audits, we're not a registrar, we're not a certification body. So just helping you prep for those. So, and then again, we're behind schedule, and I do want to share one little video trailer that we have for a project that we just finished. But very quickly, Kelly, in less than a minute, tell us what's the client you just shared with the possible shortest possible timeline that you have ever heard of or been a part of.
He had his stage 1 on Monday. The auditor was there for about a half an hour, no more than 45 minutes. Said, all right, I'll be back after lunch. He said, okay. Never heard from the auditor. He had to call his auditor, and he said, oh, I'll be back on Thursday. Auditor came back on Thursday, spent another half an hour going through all the evidence, said, all right, I'm done. I see you'll have your cert on Monday.
And they had their cert. So a week after stage 1,
yes.
They had their cert.
Yes.
Okay, that's got to be a world record. Maybe we should call Guinness. Okay, so that is fast. I see a note from Bosco in the notes. We're in the final stages of process getting certified. It's been great. Kelly's helped a lot. Thank you, Bosco. Appreciate that. Yep, Kelly's awesome. All right, we're going to share a video here. So we just went through a process with another client. We actually documented this in sort of a video documentary style. So this is just, and Kelly was a part of this. She's not in this trailer, at which I will get another one made by the video editor, but she and Michael on our team were critical in helping this client get their certification. So let's take a look at this, and we'll be releasing this full video in the next few weeks.
I don't normally have to call customers and see if they have work for us. I was on the phone every day calling and trying to dig up more work. Start thinking about some of the opportunities that have come up in the past, but they ended when the companies found out we didn't have quality certifications, such as AS9100. With switching over to ProShop in the last year, I figured who better to help us do the AS9100 than you guys. I knew you had experience in it and you had the module already set up for it.
To make parts that go on airplanes, you have to have this piece of paper that says you have a quality system that meets all these requirements. So to get the certification, we go through a couple audits. Calibrated and verified, or both.
Just a formality at this point till the cert arrives.
Like looking back on it now I think it's went very, very smoothly, and it is not as much work for me having you guys help us implement it.
Yeah, so if you had to do this from scratch, what do you think the process would have been like?
Honestly, I probably would have given up on it.
All right. So that is TK Machine. Jeremy was kind enough to let us come into his facility and film his process of getting certified. So it was a really fun project. We are going to launch a poll and then get into the Q&A immediately as we do that. Where is our poll? Oh, there you go. Thank you. All right. So a couple questions in the Q&A that we will get to as the thank you in advance for doing this poll. Are there certification bodies that you know of that are aware of ProShop? Our previous auditor preferred paper, so we're looking at switching. Not an uncommon. I think one of you was even saying the auditor asked you to mail them your quality manual. Was that you, Chris, or someone else?
That was me. I had to print it out and mail it. We told them, no, we can email it.
That is so funny. Yes, we definitely are starting to collect and keep sort of a database, if you will, of certification bodies. So I know that was an anonymous question, so please reach out to us if you do want some names, and we can certainly share those with you. Thank you for that. And then Phil asks, how is ProShop planning for updates when the AS9100 revises? This should be challenging for people that have made modifications to the flying start after they started this with their own system. Yeah, good question. I mean, there's different types of changes. Obviously, like the AS9102 form just is changing revs now, and we've updated ProShop to be compliant to the latest, I think it's Rev C version of that form. But when the entire standard does change, I think our strategy right now is that companies that want to get the update to the standard, we would publish that into their system as a draft revision, and it would be incumbent on them to kind of go through, or maybe Kelly could be hired to help consult with them on what it was, what it currently is moving to, and the changes that they made to their own system as a part of that. So and if I could piggyback off of that for a second, usually the certification bodies give you a timeline or a grace period of when you have to get that up to that standard. So it can be either by your next audit, it can be to the next year, depending on when your certification or recertification happens. So there is a timeline, there is some ease. You don't have to hurry up and rush and
just like the 9102 form, it's being pushed from the OEM level and everyone needs to be revved to it by January. Knowing these timeframes, ProShop is proactive about getting this information to our clients in a timely manner because we understand, you know, the severity of being compliant.
Got it. Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that. All right. Well, we are at the top of the hour, maybe even a minute more, depending on which clock you're looking at. I will leave the poll open for just another few minutes, another few seconds, maybe. I don't see any other questions coming in. So feel free. Oh, has Oasis ever Oasis? I know I've heard of Oasis. I don't know. Kelly, do you?
Yes. What's the question?
Has Oasis ever been fixed that you know of?
It's still under construction. That's the same system message that I always get. I know that Adam had some huge problems trying to get in and get that fixed and get that, you know, registered. It is a very irritating process. I know that they're still trying to smooth out the bugs, but again, you know, it is quite, you know, an upgrade for them. So.
Okay. Do you have an audit checklist that is user friendly? Is that like the what the auditor might use as a checklist and maybe another version internally?
So I love the Oasis website, and the IAQG is all where you need to get your information. The audit form that they use is from there. It's called the pair. You can pull their audit report and look at what their process and how they do it. They even have all kinds of information. The IAQG is free, and I support going on there and trying to get all your information on it because it is huge, and it's where the OEMs get their information.
Okay. Very good. All right. Well, let's close down the poll. Oh, it's already been shared. There we go. Thank you for everyone in the back end, Sarah and Abra. All right. We are definitely out of time, but thank you, Adam. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate all of you joining us today and spending your time sharing. And yeah, thanks to the whole audience for joining today. Hopefully this was useful and you got something from it. And we'll see you all on the next one. And thanks again.